The episode begins with Dayan and Bitna standing in front of a pool of blood. Dayan is shocked by the amount of blood, and seeing his reaction, Bitna's heart starts beating faster. The scene shifts to all the members of the apartment gathered at the landlady's house. The landlady asks Minjun's mother to change her shift, and Minjun's mother agrees but says she needs a replacement first. She then tells her son to come home early. Minjun mentions that the attacker only targets females and expresses concern for all the women, especially the landlady, who goes to church at night. The landlady thanks him, and the Mando advises elderly women to finish their work quickly during the day, but the elder lady insists she will continue her job. The landlady also advises Bitna to be careful, and everyone prays for the safe return of their team leader. At the police station, a police officer reports that their colleague has gone missing, and the blood at the crime scene might belong to her. The officer tells Dayan and his team to stay out of the case, which angers them. Despite Dayan's protest that they must search for their missing team leader, they are forced to agree. Seop accuses Dong-hun of being at fault, but Dayan tries to calm him down, reassuring them that their leader will return. Dayan then visits their team leader's house, where her daughter Dahue is crying. He consoles her, telling her that their mother will come back soon. The team leader's husband hands Dayan files related to serial killer, Jay, and mentions that his wife believed the killer might have returned. He urges Dayan to fulfill their duty as officers, saying he trusts his wife will return. Later, Bitna sees Dayan returning home and asks if they've found the team leader. Dayan replies they will find her soon and leaves. At work, Bitna writes the team leader's name on a mirror but stops, convinced the leader will be fine. She worries about Dayan and almost calls him, but stops when she receives a message from him asking her to meet someone. Dayan says it's someone who will prove the victim's innocence, and Bitna goes to meet the vice chairman of Ko Food Company. She questions him about gambling accusations, and the vice chairman admits he needed money for his daughter's cancer treatment but denies threatening the chairman. Dayan asks if he will testify in court, and the vice chairman agrees. In the courtroom, the hearing is delayed as the witness, the vice chairman, is late. Bitna asks to wait for 5 more minutes, and the witness eventually arrives. During his testimony, he reveals that the chairman had a gambling problem and had planned to threaten the CEO for money, shocking the court. After the session, Dayan confronts the witness, who apologizes and cries. The scene shifts to an assemblyman's house, where they are praying before eating. The assemblyman praises Bitna's work. Bitna asks Mr. Choi how he obtained the gambling papers, and Choi credits expert lawyers. When Bitna asks how he convinced the vice chairman, Taijaya responds that poor people do anything for money. Mr. Choi adds that his son has been praying for forgiveness, and the assemblyman suggests Bitna should forgive him too, since the Lord has. At Gremory's workplace, Gremory shows Bitna papers revealing Dayan as the sole survivor of something significant. Bitna is shocked, but tells Gremory she's happy because they can resolve things quickly now. Gremory, noticing Bitna's reaction, grows suspicious. Back at the police station, Dayan says they need to protect the CEO, who could be the next target. Seop protests, wanting to focus on finding their team leader, but Dayan insists that protecting the CEO is what their leader would want. Bitna later visits Dayan's office and looks at a photo of him and their team leader. When Dayan arrives, Bitna says she came to ask him something but instead asks for the time, then leaves after Dayan tells her to do her best for the next hearing. The next day in court, it is revealed that the chairman was kidnapped and assaulted, which led him to commit suicide. Despite his past good work, the court sentences Wonjung to 1 year in prison and 2 years of probation, shocking everyone. The chairman's daughter, Yugyang, cries and tries to approach Bitna but is stopped by officers. She accuses Bitna of delivering an unfair judgment, and Bitna coldly replies that she always makes her judgments this way. The daughter faints, and an ambulance is called. But Bitna walks away, feeling only a little remorse, walks away. In the next scene, Bitna is with the chief judge, who is angry about the articles criticizing Bitna. Bitna dismisses the criticism, saying the reporters are simply writing about her judgments. She adds that the assemblyman must be happy with the judge, then walks away. Bitna goes to her office, where Mando and a colleague are on calls, explaining her rulings. She disconnects their phones, telling them there's no need to explain her judgments. Mando informs her that everything is arranged, and Bitna tells him to call her when it's time. Mando asks if she's upset by the harsh comments, but Bitna denies it. She then asks about the thugs who kidnapped the chairman, stating she'll send them to hell too. Mando says they are investigating and asks if she's sure about working with Erong, warning her that Erong might betray her. Bitna confidently says Erong will not betray her. Mando then asks if she's worried about the victim's daughter, but Bitna brushes it off and tells him to leave. The chairman's daughter is in critical condition at the hospital, and the doctor tells her mother to prepare for the worst. However, the daughter suddenly opens her eyes and asks for water, shocking the doctor. Meanwhile, on TV, it's reported that the 4 people involved in the chairman's kidnapping have died in a building fire. The cleaning professionals, sitting in their shop, discuss the situation, with one questioning why the cleaner killed the 4 people, while the other says he was just cleaning up. They agree to keep it a secret. The chairman's daughter's condition improves, and the mother is told the cost of the treatment is no longer a concern. The daughter asks who paid for the treatment, but the doctor says the donor wishes to remain anonymous. The cleaning professionals were discussing how the chairman's daughter's condition improved and that it could be a miracle, possibly done by an angel. They agree to keep each other's secrets. Meanwhile, at the hospital, they show us to the doctor, who turns out to be the angel, and she is the same elderly woman. The cleaners, meanwhile, discuss the donation of 200 million won to the hospital, agreeing to keep that secret as well. Wonjung is seen playing with animals when Dayan arrives and asks why he refused police protection. Wonjung dismisses it, saying he doesn't need protection. Dayan insists it's dangerous, but Wonjung refuses and leaves. Dayan returns to the office, informing the team that Wonjung has declined protection. Bitna is shown getting ready and writing Wonjung's name on a mirror. Later, she sees Wonjung in church, thanking the Lord for forgiveness. Bitna makes a call, saying, "It's time to start." Wonjung receives a mysterious call from a child's voice claiming to have proof of his crimes and telling him to come alone to a theme park. Wonjung dismisses it as a prank but heads to the park. At the park, Wonjung talks to an employee about the 4 deaths in the fire. He confirms that the police are waiting outside. Wonjung manages to slip away, escaping from the police tailing him. Bitna is at home when Dayan arrives, confronting her about her plan to kill Wonjung. He asks her to stop, but she questions if he really doesn't want the serial killer, who murdered his family, to be punished. Dayan insists that the law should punish him, not Bitna. She reminds him that the statute of limitations has expired and offers to kill the serial killer on his behalf. Dayan refuses, saying as a law enforcement officer, he cannot accept that. Bitna gets angry and leaves after Dayan hugs her and thanks her for believing he wasn't at fault in her family's murder. At the theme park, Wonjung is confronted by a person in a teddy bear costume. Gremory sneaks up from behind and knocks him unconscious. Wonjung wakes up tied to a chair, where Bitna repeatedly hits him with golf balls. Wonjung pleads for mercy, but Bitna ignores him. Eventually, she tells Mando and Gremory to leave. Wonjung, in tears, asks why she's doing this, but Bitna continues her assault. Wonjung manages to escape and runs down the road. He sees a passing car and desperately hugs the driver, thinking he's saved, but another cleaner appears and subdues him with a cloth. Wonjung wakes up in the woods, tied to a noose, and Bitna hangs him from a tree. The cleaners dump his body into a coffin, where he struggles to escape. He eventually crawls out and finds himself back at the theme park. Bitna appears again, telling him his punishment is just beginning. She asks if he admits his crimes, but he denies them, screaming. In response, Bitna releases 2 wild animals to chase him. Wonjung hides inside a ticket booth, but the animals trap him there, forcing him to run again. He sees Bitna up ahead and tries to avoid her by jumping onto a swing, but she's sitting behind him. They begin to fight, with Bitna overpowering him. Wonjung seems to be trying hard and ultimately cries. He admits to his crimes and is asked if he has apologized to the victim's family, to which he replies that he hasn't, but he has asked God for forgiveness. Hearing this, Bitna gets angry and tells him that God doesn't want this. She takes out a knife and stabs him in the forehead, causing his soul to depart to hell. When his body is being taken out by Bitna, Dayan secretly records this action. In the scene shown, after he hugged her, he placed a tracker on her body. Upon realizing this, Bitna gets very angry and demands Dayan's phone. As she moves forward, Dayan throws something on her, which surprises Bitna, and she wonders how he knows about it. It is shown that Dayan was sitting in the church with Mando, telling him that if you throw sulfur powder on any demon, it will take away his powers for an hour or two. In the present, Bitna tries to kill him, but she doesn't have her powers to do anything. Dayan then arrests her. At a moment, Dayan receives a call that his team leader has been found. He has tied up Bitna in a swing and leaves. Dayan goes to the location where there was a significant police presence, and seeing this, he gets worried. But when he goes inside, he sees his team leader's dead body, which makes him cry a lot. He recalls a flashback when his parents died, during which the team leader arrived at his home, comforting him while crying and promising him that she would catch the serial killer. At the police station, it is revealed that there is no one to take care of the child. When the team leader goes to meet the child, she sees some kids bullying him for being an orphan. She saves him, but Dayan, in anger, hits her with a stone, saying that she promised to catch his parents' killer but didn't keep her promise. In his rage, he leaves the place. In the school, the team leader and her husband come to the school to meet Dayan. He gets angry with her but still tries to convince him. As Dayan's parents, they participate in the school games, during which the team leader gets injured. Dayan then comes to her and applies a bandage. Team leader tells him that they have rented a house near the school, and now they will live together. Hearing this, Dayan agrees and accepts it. They take a happy photo together. In the present, Dayan is crying a lot, remembering all these moments. Meanwhile, Bitna is shown, and her powers have returned. She is on her way out when Dayan arrives there and Bitna moves forward to kill Dayan. Dayan breaks his phone and hands it to Bitna. He then asks help from Bitna to kill serial killer Jay and he will help her. Together, they will take down the serial killer, and then she will be able to kill him too and send Dayan to hell. Bitna then says he must fulfill her promise. As she leaves, she is crying for the first time, and they both look at each other, crying. The episode ends here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.